Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us here today. And my name is Dana Murray, and on behalf of myself and Becca Kennedy, we'd also like to thank ARCS and the conference committee for inviting us here to speak. Now, emergency kits are understood to be one of the most cost-effective and high-impact methods of emergency preparedness. We appreciate that it can be overwhelming to choose supplies that serve a multi-use function, stabilize the emergency situation, and do not harm the planet. Our goal today is to encourage everyone here to build a customized emergency kit for your institutions and leave with a shopping list of sustainable supplies in hand. We want to ensure that everyone understands that we will not be sharing how to compile an emergency kit from scratch, but rather guiding you in how to make your kits sustainable. Custom and thoughtfully compiled kits allow for flexibility and stabilization, no matter the size, duration, and cause of an emergency. Please note that the materials covered here will be addressing stabilization and salvage, not conservation and preservation. So remember, conservation will come later during the recovery process. This process can take weeks, months, or even years. Your emergency supply kit should focus on the immediate response instead, so stabilizing the situation in the site and salvaging your collection. So what are we looking for today? Well, we're looking for materials and supplies that can be washed and reused multiple times. Remember, many of these items can actually be produced from recycled materials, such as high-vis vests or hard hats. And for those that cannot be reused, we strive for biodegradable and compostable. And finally, for those items that do not fit within either of these categories, try to purchase single-use items secondhand or thrifted. Conduct a little research, because your municipality might even have something like a reuse center, which would offer materials available for free. And local vendors may also have boxes or offcuts that were otherwise destined for the landfill. Now, we also want to just sort of give a little warning about greenwashing. And it's important to be aware of this because many companies will actually claim to be environmentally conscious for marketing purposes, but they're actually not making any notable sustainability efforts. So some ways to avoid this would be to look for a certification label and to research a company's sustainability claims. For those of you that have not yet put together an emergency kit for your collection, or if it's time to update your kit, never fear, because ARCS has a resource for that. Now this example here, the emergency subcommittee actually compiled a list of emergency supplies that's available for free download on the ARCS website. The materials discussed today were actually pulled directly from this resource. Now we've got a bit of a sneak peek or a little teaser for you here. So you can actually see that the supplies have been divided according to their use or function under category. So we've got containers for storage, which are actually multi-use, by the way. We've also got safety, documentation, salvage and drying, packing and drying, and utility tools. You'll also notice that the purpose of each item is listed in the right-hand column, many of which will actually serve multiple functions. Now, unfortunately, not all materials listed here are considered sustainable. We've gone ahead and identified the culprits for you, which could include first aid kits, masks, caution tape, although sometimes this can be reused, notepads, which you could put together yourself from scrap paper. There's also plastic sheeting, plastic bags, wrap, soot sponges, cosmetic sponges, which sometimes you can source cosmetic sponges as offcuts from vendors. Also gallons of water, painter's tape, freezer paper, Teflon relic wrap, trash bags, duct tape. Everything else on this list, though, it actually is multi-purpose and it can be cleaned and reused or is biodegradable. Now, although it may appear easier to buy pre-made emergency kits or to use supplies we commonly find elsewhere in a museum space, a customized kit that has reusable supplies is often better for your institution in the long run. Not only are the reusable supplies more sustainable, but a customized kit allows you to source materials that reflect the needs identified in your own risk assessment. In the end, this will actually save your institution money, time, and effort, and it will directly reflect the needs of your collection specifically. Every collection is unique, and we do encourage you to research additional recommendations. Now, we've provided an example here for you from Connecting to Collections Care online community. But we also welcome everyone to share their ideas and suggestions in the chat here today, and we would love to hear some of your ideas and solutions that have worked for you. Now, without further ado, we wanted to take a moment and just to show you how easy it is to make sustainable choices. So we visited 2 big box stores and 2 thrift stores. Now, these are just ones that we selected because they were convenient for us to visit. They often have long business hours, that sort of thing. But without further ado, let's go shopping.
The first place you should go shopping is at your own institution. See what you already have and how it can be used in an emergency. Remember, you can always use the ARC's emergency resource for inspiration. Storage bins are a great resource to store your emergency kit supplies. They can also be used for transporting or rinsing objects during an emergency, making them multi-purpose. But they can be washed and reused throughout any and all emergency incidents. Rubber boots are an essential safety supply that should be fitted to each member of your staff. No one should ever enter a water emergency without this basic supply. Of course, they can be reused as needed and will outlast standard canvas shoes when wet. Just like rubber boots, work boots are an essential safety supply that prevent abrasions and penetration injuries when working in spaces disturbed by emergency incidents. Staff should be encouraged to wear these over and over again when needed, and again will outlast the standard shoe. Clean, soft paintbrushes are easily found at most big box stores, and once purchased can be used many times for many purposes. They are perfect for removing debris from objects damaged in an emergency. Simply wash and air dry. These are a great substitute for single-use sponges. Some of our supplies will need batteries to operate. It's hard to avoid. If possible, use rechargeable batteries to keep single-use ones out of the landfill. Clothespins have often come in handy during an emergency to hang dry objects, but also to hold supplies in place. Once the emergency is over, wash them and put them back in your kit. Bonus points if you buy the wooden ones, which are biodegradable. Magnets are a great substitute for single-use tape and can be reused endless times. Instead of creating waste by taping plastic sheeting to shelving, use these magnets instead. It also reduces the risk by keeping adhesives away from your objects. Yes, plain white towels of any size can be your best friend during an emergency to blot water off objects or even as extra padding for packing. A much better option than single-use paper towels. We prefer white ones to prevent dye transfer, but color ones that have had extensive washing are fine too. Bed sheets serve the same purpose as towels by replacing single-use paper towels with washable and reusable fabrics. Finding towels and sheets that are made of sustainably grown cotton is your best sustainable option when purchasing new. Aluminum roasting pans not only are reusable during an emergency for carrying and rinsing objects, when it finally does reach the end of its life cycle, they are easy to recycle in most cities, but be sure to check your city's recycling rules. But they can be used for years and withstand lots of heavy work. Cheesecloth should be in your emergency kit to control dye transfer across objects when wet. But in a pinch, it can be used for carrying supporting objects and padding during packing. Even if dye has transferred to the cheesecloth, it can be washed and put back in your emergency kit. Pipe insulation is an easy to manipulate foam that has been useful in an emergency for carrying and reshaping textiles and basketry, as well as providing padding for packing and storage. Ultimately, replacing single-use absorption materials. Just be sure to avoid the ones with adhesive. These are very easy to wash and let fully air dry before placing back in your emergency kits. They even come pre-slit to increase their functionality. While we are in the plumbing department, PVC pipe has its uses in a collection emergency. It is essentially a stronger version of the pipe insulation. They are meant to be exposed to water, so can be used for many incidents for many years. Both PVC and pipe insulation can always be cut down to fit your institution's needs. Most nylon twine can be reused, but it often is discarded as it is cut to a specific length for a specific purpose. Instead, look for twine made of sustainably sourced organic materials, such as cotton. There are now more options than ever for sustainable twine, including core and jute, which are compostable. Don't worry, they still come in some fun colors. We all know how important it is to wear nitrile gloves for our safety in an emergency, but if you know it is likely you will respond to an incident, invest in nitrile-dipped reusable gloves to cut down on single-use waste. Yes, they can be washed and reused, usually by hand washing and air drying. Reusable spray bottles can be washed out and reused each time a new or different liquid is needed during a response. This is a better solution than buying several different bottles of cleaners, trying to anticipate your needs. Microfiber cloths are another reusable fabric for removing debris from objects or collection storage surfaces, again replacing the single-use cleaning supplies. Just like most else we have mentioned, these are washable and can be placed back in your kit for use over and over again. But remember, microfiber can produce microplastics during washing, so you also might want to invest in a microplastic washing bag. Mesh screen is incredibly handy in an emergency, primarily thanks to its flexibility and strength, and the fact it can be wiped down and washed to be used over and over again. The mesh holes act as a sieve when removing wet objects, helping to remove excess water while continuing to support the object. This is a replacement for a remade, which is not as easy to clean and dry as mesh screen.
The 5-gallon bucket can store emergency supplies, used to catch dripping water, serve as a trash can, and even be used to transport objects if needed. While they are made of plastic, they can be used extensively before the end of their life cycle. With regular emptying, they can replace plastic trash bags. Tarps come in all sizes and colors, which makes them very helpful when setting up response stations for triage and packing. But also, they can provide protection and coverage from any elements. While similar to polyester sheeting, they are sturdier and much easier to clean, making them a more sustainable option. And don't forget, you can secure them in place using magnets. Finally, rechargeable flashlights are becoming more common and affordable. There are options to recharge using sunlight as well as through power outlets. These reduce battery waste over its life cycle, making them the sustainable choice. Just look at those risk assessments and be sure you have a method to recharge your tools when electricity is out. We visited some secondhand and thrift stores to see if we could find similar supplies to increase our sustainability efforts and had great success. While we realize thrifting for emergency kits can be more time consuming, it just might be worth it. Everything bought at a secondhand store can be washed and placed in your emergency kits. We were able to find rubber boots and work boots, which again have to be custom fitted but could fit someone on staff.
There were plenty of excessively washed sheets and towels, roasting pans for rinsing, and even storage bins. Handy clothespins, cotton twine, and even pipe insulation. And don't forget all the wonderful flashlights. During our visits to the secondhand stores, we found other supplies on the ARC's Emergency Kit resource we had not planned on including in this presentation, but we still wanted to share to show how successful thrifting can be. There was paper for documentation, earplugs for staff safety, cleaning supplies, and even these handy fold-away tables for triage stations. An exciting find was these evacuated doorknob signage, even some tools, including a wet vac that you see there on the floor, crates for storing objects and carrying them safely, and even just some random tools that you might need to access your collections. And of course, some binders for holding those emergency plans. Please download the free ARC's Emergency Kit resource to learn about other supplies and how they are used. And please, if you have any tips, share them with your colleagues. You can put them in the chat now or on social media. And please let the Emergency Committee know if you have any suggestions to update this resource. We both want to thank you for attending our session, and we hope we have inspired you to put in the effort to build a sustainable emergency kit. Please reach out to us via email or social media if you have any questions or suggestions. We look forward to hearing from you.